Assalamualaikum. In this video, my group and I will be presenting about the fraud in Lehman Brothers company. But first of all, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Nura Ainin Sofia.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Anis binti Muhammad Firdaus.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Batrisha.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Farah Nabila binti Zulkifli.
My name is Fazina binti Fushka.
We will begin with the introductions of Lehman Brothers company.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about introduction for Lehman Brothers company. So Lehman Brothers company was a global financial services firm doing business in investment banking, investment management, private banking, and so on. So before Lehman Brothers declaring a bankruptcy in 2008, Lehman was the fourth largest investment bank in the United States. Lehman was operational for 158 years from its founding in 1850 until 2008. So on 15 September 2008, the firm filed for bankruptcy. Lehman bankruptcy filing was the largest in US history. In 1844, Lehman's brother origin was a small general store founded by Henry Lehman, a German immigrant in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1850, Emmanuel N. Mayer, who is Henry's brother, joined him and founded the Lehman Brothers Company. So what kind of fraud did the Lehman Brothers company did was hiding over $50 billion in loans by classifying them as sales. And then the company auditor, who is Ernst and Young, manipulate the book by using an accounting trick which is material misleading. This will temporarily move $50 billion of assets at the end of each quarter. This will make them appear to be far less dependent on borrowing money than they actually were.
I'm going to talk about the effects regarding Lehman Brothers fraud. First of all, the company's culture and moral is shattering. A company concerned of fraud is usually painted in black for investors and other business partners, as nobody wants to deal with a firm or company that has a bad record and untrustworthy. So on 2008, when Lehman Brothers affirmed bankruptcy, the lenders has lost 100% of their money, hence they have stopped all of their investing activities. So next is the financial loss. On 15 September 2008, Lehman holding over 600 billion assets has remains as the biggest bankruptcy in US history. Monetary loss happens due to embezzle of company assets, fines assessed for misleading investors, civil suits to recoup investors, and creditor losses, and the opposition of companies to extend credit to the business in the future, all are expected to be severe to the financial loss for the company. The next effect is employees lose their jobs. As employees feel the downturn from Lehman Brothers, they begin to find it easier to rationalize any corrupt doings. Companies often look to cut down any pay increases for bonuses and also delay in the promotions. Lehman Brothers caused 26,000 of people went jobless. The last effect will be global financial market. Defaulted loan on the houses in US, for example, could be mortgage, could be correspond to the mortgage backed securities to investors in Europe or Asia. Lehman Brothers had been the main issuer of short-term debt for the commercial paper, and its bankruptcy has caused the credit freeze of this vital source of lending throughout the world. Cutback in both consumer spending and exports to the US has afflicted the flow of goods, manufacturing and job growth in Europe or Asia.
Next, we will continue with internal control, which I think everyone knows that internal control is very important in every firm. So one of the elements under internal control is control environment. Control environment can be defined as the foundations for effective internal control that includes providing discipline and also structure, including policy, attitude, and also actions of management. So the objective or purpose of having the control environment in the firm is to provide reliable financial reporting and also to make sure that the business operate efficiently and also effectively. Under control environment, one of it is management philosophy and operating style, where management are responsible in maintaining and also monitoring the internal control. This is to minimize the business risk, where by looking at the management philosophy and operating style of a firm, as an external auditor, they can get the signal of important info on how the management attitude or actions toward the financial reporting. For example, in this Lehman Brothers case, the CEO and also Lehman executive were fully about the Repo 105 was being used to mislead, and they did not fairly present the true financial reporting of the company. So the management are responsible in monitoring the internal control, and as the CEO or executive of the firm, they need to take a serious actions towards the error or fraud in the financial reporting. Other than that, still under control environment, which is participant by those charged with governance, where the person who are in charge of overseeing the obligations that related to the accountability of the entity need to make sure that the internal control process is successful. For example, as the internal auditor of the firm, they need to be independent from the management but still ready to respond towards the desire and also needs of the management. So for example, in this case of Lehman Brothers fraud, the auditor also played a role in this fraud together, which they manipulate the accounting book by using accounting cheat called Repo 105, where actually as an internal auditor, they need to be independent from the management, and also they have the rights to voice out and also speak out without any hesitation. Next is control activity. It is one of the important elements under internal control. It can be defined as policies or procedures that management's response to reduce risk identified during the risk assessment process is carried out. So the purpose of having control activity in the firm is to minimize the risk towards the user's financial statement. So authorization is a part of control activity, which goods purchase or any reports need to be made with the approval by top of management. For example, based on the Lehman Brothers case, the situation is they manipulate their accounting books by using an accounting cheat called Repo 105. So the solutions of this situation is by adding up number of responsible personnel to authorize the important reports such as financial reporting. This is to avoid collisions happen in the company. So by adding up number of by adding up the number of responsible personnel to authorize the important report, it will make more hard to implement the fraud. Other than that, still under control activity, which is segregations of duty. The meaning of segregations of duty is to separate the duties or individuals so that there is no one is in the positions to record or process a complete transaction. This is to minimize the risk of error or fraud in the financial reporting. Based on the Lehman Brothers case, the situation is they manipulate the accounting book by using Repo 105 just to make that the company look more healthy. So the solutions to this situation or case is it is important to have a separate duties, and there should be a divisions of responsibilities among the employees regarding the authorizing and also initiating the record or transaction, which is the person who authorized the transaction should be different from the person who record the transaction.
For today, I will be presenting about the third internal control, which is the monitoring of control. So firstly, what is monitoring of control? Monitoring of control is the process to assess the quality of the internal control in a company over time, which oversee all the tasks of the company. The objective of this monitoring of internal control is to make sure that all the approved and authorized project is within their scope and on time and also on their budget, so that the project will proceed effectively and also efficiently. The monitor of operation will usually be monitored by internal auditor, which means that the internal auditor or personnel will be hired by the company to monitor the effectiveness and the efficiency in their daily operation of the business, and also the efficiency in the internal control of the business, which means that the internal control auditor that will hire will help the company to establish the authenticity or the originality of the financial statements and the financial records, and also to monitor the efficiency on the daily operations of the firm. And how to relate with the Lehman Brothers scandal is that Lehman Brothers hid over $50 billion in loans cover-up sale by using an accounting cheat that called Repo 105. So from this situation, how can we solve by using monitoring of internal control? We can use the monitoring of internal control by hiring an internal auditor, which means that the company should hire an internal auditor that doesn't have any conflict of interest, that is clear in authority and also qualified to carry out their assigned duties, so that the auditor can perform their job well in monitoring all the internal controls, which means that the internal auditor will monitor all the financial transactions. So the internal auditor should monitor all the financial transactions of the firm in order to avoid such situation to occur, which is the situation of Lehman Brothers that hid over $50 billion in loan to cover up their sales. If the internal auditor monitoring the firm's financial transaction, this situation can be avoided. So next, I will be presenting about what happened to the company in present time. So 10 years after the fraud, Lehman Brothers company are still in the process of winding down their company because there are still some claims and lawsuits they need to settle first. So this caused Lehman Brothers to file an $8.6 billion lawsuit so that they can repay their creditors back. So in 2012, the Lehman Brothers company appeared to be in full bankruptcy, and the bankrupt court had agreed to liquidate their assets, which will take a lot of time to sell, which amounting $600 billion.
So I will continue with the last slide, which is conclusion. First, Lehman Brothers failed to keep up their objective and mission of their company because of their fraud intention, and this has led them to weaken their company's decision-making process. Thus, because of their selfishness level towards money has led them to risk their own business company. Moreover, Lehman Brothers and all of their company's investors lost huge amount of money, and 26,000 people went jobless because of this fraud. Lastly, this Lehman Brothers bankruptcy has become discovery of the fraud in the history of United States.